All right, DJs and Not Jukeboxes podcast. We are back. This is episode 11. We have the skeleton crew here. My name is Send. To my left,
DJ True.
Yes. And we have a very special guest today. He goes by the name of Anthony Clark. Give it up for the homie Anthony coming in.
Hey.
Yeah. You know, usually it's a bigger round of applause.
No. You low key today.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you. Just straight in from St. Louis, you said, right?
Yeah, just drove from St. Louis. It was about 4.5 hours. Went out there Friday to support another congressional candidate, Cori Bush, running in Missouri's first congressional district. Just a powerhouse.
Yep.
Super dope. So, she always shows love and support. So no question.
Dope.
Had to go out there and hold it down.
Dope. Well, we appreciate you coming in straight off your trip.
Yeah,
you know
no question.
We'll jump right into it. So we wanted to have you in. One of the big things that we talk about in our culture, this art culture, the DJ, the music, whatever it is how political it is and how the political ties, are relevant to it.
Right.
The arts and the culture and the community and everything like that.
Correct.
You have taken on a very big role for yourself. You run for Congress. We'll talk about that.
Right.
We'll let you kind of detail all that. But let's just kind of start with the idea of arts and community. And obviously, we all know it plays relevance. But what, in your mind, where's that connection where it started taking you to these levels that you're at?
So, I guess I laid a base down that, I truly believe that everything is political. Like, everything we do, everything we involve ourselves in, everything we experience is political. And there's two sides to it in regards to it's either something that's distracting you from what's occurring or it's motivating you to change. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
To change what's occurring. So that's why no matter what it is, it has some ties to, the political aspect of our life. So, and I guess an example of that would be if you think like Roman times, like Rome for, the citizens, was not hot. It wasn't dope. Like, you wouldn't want to live there. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, like they romanticize it on TV, things like that. It wasn't, no, not at all. Not at all. You weren't getting Roman pizza, you know what I'm saying? Going for pizza slices and visiting. But they distracted individuals with the Coliseum.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And it kind of translates to, today's society when people say, well, sports and politics aren't they are. Because sports distracts you.
Oh, my God.
If you're watching football without before pre-kneeling, it distracts you. Everything's a distraction from how shitty society really is if you truly think about it.
Absolutely.
Or, depending upon, what you're watching, the kneeling didn't distract you. You know what I'm saying? It was tied into the sports. Or if you have something that's tied in and they're speaking to it with art, whether it be an artist, whatever type of artist you are, a DJ, a painter, a lyricist, like whatever you are, you can either distract from it by talking about bullshit, drugs, females all day, I'm partying, life is great, my chain is chunky as hell. Or, you could really tie in, to what's going on in this world. So, I guess that duality that exists when it comes to, life experiences, I felt like I spent a large part of my adolescence just being distracted. You know what I'm saying? Things are going on around me that are crazy. From early on, remembering Rodney King and remembering the LA riots and then being choked by police officers, at 11 years old and, different things like that. But I never thought about how to change it because I was always distracted. So as I matured, I'm like, well, how can, I tie in my experiences to, truly trying to make a difference? Because it truly impacts people, man. I don't know. Because again, I don't consider myself an artist. So when I speak to artists like yourselves and meet artists, I don't know if artists truly realize and understand the impact they have on society,
And see, I as an artist, I consider you an artist because you're using your creative path and your creative side to do these particular things.
Right.
That's an art in itself.
Right.
That's where for me art is so big because it's not just what society makes it out to be necessarily. The DJs, the music, the groupings of it, food, art visually, all of that, and there's photography, there's camera work, all of that.
Right.
It's bigger than that because shout out to the homie Alex King Hippo. We had him on a few months back, and we were talking about just the relevance of art and how at the youth level and the youth development level, he made a comment. I'm gonna botch it, the verbatim version of it, but it was along the lines of taking away art from our kids takes away the ability to problem solve, because problem solving comes from being creative. Right. You don't necessarily fix problems when you're not thinking outside the box. So the ability to think outside the box, the ability to use your naturally given creative brain, and what is that, the right hemisphere side, the right half?
Hey,
I forget. Whatever.
Bro, I'll believe you. Stayed at the Holiday Inn last night. We're experts.
But, that side of it, like, that plays a huge role. So, like, what you're doing, like, the way you move, the things that you tie your name to, the things that have rooted you. Right. There's a lot of creativity behind it.
I feel that.
No, so there's relevance in these conversations, man,
definitely.
for sure. So there's your duality.
Right. I like that time.
Absolutely. So let's talk a little bit more about that then, like the youth development side and, the importance of just art and the creative aspect of thinking in general.
Yeah, so I mean, by trade, my 9 to 5, I'm a high school teacher.
Nice.
And at the same time, so clearly I work within the system, but I'm a proponent of, if you want to change anything, you have to oftentimes work outside of the system. And even as a teacher, I'll be the first to tell you that our educational system is broken. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yes.
Whether it's the, after effects of No Child Left Behind and, just various issues that exist, teacher pay, lack of living wage, so on and so forth. Like, we're graduating, we're just pushing students through. And you're right, you talked about it earlier, they lack critical thinking skills. They don't have the ability to make inferences. And, if they're, presented with a problem, they seem to think that it's just one solution. It's just one way to answer this problem. And I think art, like you say, it's multiple ways to express yourselves. There's multiple solutions to problems. There's multiple ways to get to one location.
Yes.
Some people may take longer than someone else, but you still get to the same location because you're different. You may take a different route, but I don't think kids understand that they want just cut and dry right in front, help me, hold their hand and bring them to it, because they're not left out, like they don't have a canvas and just express yourself.
So how do you
know what I'm saying? Exposure. I think you have to change the narrative and just let kids know that, again, going back to a canvas, it's a blank canvas. They could be anything. I'm not going to paint that damn picture for you. You shouldn't want your parents or guardians to paint that picture for you. Don't let these racist-ass police out there paint that picture for you. You know what I'm saying? Don't let the government paint that picture for you of what your life should be. And I think oftentimes parents are guilty of that. They begin to paint their kids' picture for them. You know what I mean? If you think about it, like, I'm a Republican, so you're going to be a Republican. I'm a Democrat, you're going to be a Democrat. I'm racist, so I'm going to try to,
Or I didn't do this as a kid, so you're going to do
Exactly. Or I did do it, so you have to do it. You know what I'm saying?
No, that's a big thing, man. That's a very big thing.
And it's hindering, it's handicapping, and I apologize for using that word, and I don't mean it in that sense. Shout out to all my people with disabilities. But, it's literally hindering our youth from succeeding because they're just stuck in this rudimentary idea of how do you move to the next move. So art is huge, like from expression, from finding their voice, from learning oftentimes how to communicate, because everybody doesn't communicate the same. Everybody has different modalities of expression. So, and if you think about it, and I look at it as war, I do, like the opposition face us, and if you think, but they're trying to remove art, and I think it's purposeful. It's like it's reasons to that, because they know our youth are being hindered.
Oh, for sure. And the youth just gets smarter and smarter every generation.
Right.
Like that's the thing. Like the distractions that are being put out to the youth get easier and easier for them to obtain.
Right.
There's and the cut and dry approach that you mentioned, how they want it right then and there. That's the Google era that we live in. Like
instant gratification.
Yeah,
instant gratification. Yeah, we talked about that on past episodes
just like
too.
Of every aspect of life has to be instantly gratified.
It's crazy, and I get it. Like, I understand the conditioning of it, but like you said, like you made a good point. Like, people are going to the same place, but they get there at a different time, right? And because you may take the exact same route, but you just choose to drive slower. You're not going past stop signs. You're actually stopping at them. Like, you got there, and you're less tense about it.
Right.
You know what I mean? Whereas someone else was creating that crazy midday traffic because they're, cutting people off at reds or whatever. So like and I feel like that way of thinking starts with allowing youth to express themselves, because then they don't get boxed in.
Right.
Because, man, the brain is so vulnerable at that age and that stage.
Impressionable time.
Super impressionable. Yeah, that's definitely the word I was looking for. Thank you. So, like, you know, how, not to get too deep into how you maneuver as a teacher, but, like, you know, how do you fight that within for yourself?
I don't have any, like, while having expectations, I don't have expectations in the sense of, so I hold them accountable. I expect them to succeed, but again, they're a blank canvas. So I don't look at someone and say, okay, your mother and father are lawyers, so you're automatically going to be the smartest person in this room.
Right.
You have to scaffold, you know, you have to differentiate your instruction, and you have to take it outside of the classroom. You know what I'm saying? So, like, I incorporate hip-hop culture, you know, in my lessons. It's a way of life for me in a sense. So I think just I espouse that, you know, and we tie that into instruction and try to make it something that the students can connect to and relate to, you know, because, like, this really happened like 5 years ago. I remember, you know, long story short, I was given a lesson. It was like a story. We were reading comprehension, and we were reading a short story, and the story was about kayaking. And it had, you know, different words in there, and you wanted the students to comprehend it and respond. And they were struggling with it. And it wasn't, I found out it wasn't because of the words. You know, they understood, you know, grammatically and, you know, how to spell, how to read, so on and so forth. None of them had ever gone kayaking. You know what I'm saying? So they didn't have a frame of reference.
I got you.
You know, they didn't have that background information, the background knowledge. So is it more important for me to try to make them fit what the book is telling? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You have to learn about kayaking, or can I just say, what have you done? You know what I'm saying? Like, what are you used to? What are you experiencing? And then as well, you know, I started a hip-hop club at the school because I wanted to get that tie-in, wanted to create that ownership, allow them to express themselves, you know, lyrically through making beats, you know, so on and so forth. And then that was like an end for me to learn more about their lives, because you get the kids that, you know, perfect example, are like from the suburbs, not just from the suburbs, but like never experienced anything in their lives, you know, controversial.
Yeah, for sure.
But it's interesting how you get them in a booth and it's fuck a bitch, you know, like cocaine this, like what, bro? Like you moving weight? Like what? Like you just got dropped off at school with a lunchbox, bro. Like, you know, so it's just like it's weird that happens, but you know, I think that opens, like, even through art's allowing me to further connect with my students and open up and see what their thought processes are, what their interests are, and then if I don't, you know, necessarily think, you know, it vibes with their their lives, you know, we get to connect and chop it up, you know, and try to figure out, okay, who are you? What's your real voice? Instead of you let somebody else paint this picture already. Because on this mic, I hear you a thug, you a killer, you know what I'm saying? But in real life, bro, you getting A's and B's, which is great. You know, that's you.
Right.
So
show that side. Be proud of that.
And without art, without that hip hop club, I wouldn't be able to do that or accomplish that. So that's, you know, one huge thing about it.
That's amazing. Like and that's awesome that you brought up the hip hop club. I was actually gonna ask like how the hip hop tied into what you do with the school. So, you know, that's big. You know, I've been a part of Beats and Bars and, you know, just summer camps and just all kinds of little different things that have allowed me to be in those moments where you see a young person expressing themselves in a way that they've never been able to.
Right.
You know, and you know, being the kind of hippie kid that I am, like creating a moment with people is very important for me, and especially creating a moment for someone young, because I had, you know, I was playing Untitled earlier in the year, and I had someone that was in one of my programs at the University of Chicago about 3 years ago. And they didn't even get into DJing. They didn't do any of that.
Right.
But they're all into fashion.
Right.
Like, he came out, you know, as being gay and, like, proud of it. And, like, all this stuff started with my class.
Exactly.
And I was just blown away by it. Like, he lost, like, half of his body weight. Like, it was just, like, he just was like, yo, you allowed me to just chill. Right. And, like, just hang out.
Exactly.
And, like, I'd go home and I was like, yo, it's cool to just, like, be me. Yeah. And it's like, yo, like that's powerful, man. Like, I know my hair's standing on my arms, but it's like it's real shit, because it's like you never know the, you know, like you said, the impact that like artists have, but you know, fuck that. Like, you don't know what type of impact you have as a human. Right. So like, you know, something I strive for is, now that I've learned how to make a connection between the human and the artist side, because it's one, essentially, like, now my whole mission and goal is to just show people that because I've been able to do that for myself at a very rookie stage in my life. You can do that with whatever it is you're looking to do. It doesn't. It just be. This tie doesn't happen just through music.
Right.
You know, this tie doesn't happen just through me being a DJ. This is my platform.
Right.
So it's like if the exposure side of it is there because social media and everything like that. Definitely. So like, you know, and then you know, even that, like, you know, working at Beats and Bars, like showing kids how to use social media differently. You know, now they're on YouTube looking up their favorite music so they could go rip it and sample it, versus just sitting there and just like wormholing for hours.
Right.
You know, so it's like that whatever they're doing already and that they're good at, you just kind of give them that duality, you know, and you show them that other side to it.
Right.
So, I want to talk definitely about this, you know, the political thing. You mentioned politics are everywhere, and it's a fact. You know, it's in every world, it's in every aspect of living.
Right.
How'd you get into it, man?
Yeah, you know, so again, you know, always thinking you're either, you know, an agent of change or a distractor. You know, I always wanted to, you know, just again find myself, you know, paint that canvas and figure out how could I be an agent of change. You know, growing up, my parents and grandparents, they're huge on getting involved in the community, being involved, helping others. And my grandpa, like, literally was a huge Muhammad Ali fan. And one of my Ali's quotes that he used to hit me with is, you know, service to others is the rent you pay for room here on this earth. So I knew I had to pay rent eventually, you know, because when I was younger, I was too selfish and I wasn't paying any. So I went to the military, you know, trying to find myself, served 6 years. And when I got out, due to a disability, I got into teaching. And just when you're a teacher, you either have, you know, again, being an agent of change or being a distractor. You have teachers that just clock in, clock out, don't get involved. They're just collecting their check and they go home and they don't live in the community. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then you have the teachers that are like ingratiate themselves into the community because most likely they're either already part of the community or they become part of the community.
And we all have those teachers.
Yes.
You remember, not to cut you off.
No.
I'm thinking of them in my head.
Everybody has those teachers that you felt care and then you felt were just literally there and like look through you, didn't really even see you. So being a teacher that literally, you know, tied himself into the community, built relationships with students, because I believe that's the best way to teach. You have to build trust first. Building relationships with families, just seeing the systemic issues, you know, to a greater extent around me that I already knew existed, but it just became, you know, explicit in a sense when you're knee deep in it. You know, I've been teaching for 9 years, lost 11 kids to gun violence. You know, literally just lost another kid 2 days ago. I found out about. We're losing a kid. He's about to, you know, they're about to call it. And it's crazy. But that's the society we live in. And we live in a world where you could literally cross the street and everything changes. You know, where you could go from one community where it's just utter devastation, cross the street and there's just opportunity abound. But that's how, you know, it's set up in this capitalistic society. You know, it's inherent in the capitalistic society. You have to have a top and a bottom. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
and,
that's the identity of that type of society.
And isms are utilized, you know, oppressive isms to maintain bottoms. Because I think it's, you know, Lyndon B. Johnson said, you know, if you could convince the poorest white man, you know, that he's still better, you know, than a black person, he'll empty his pockets for you. So that's the game, man. And learning more about that, I felt that, you know, I'm a teacher. I started a nonprofit where we do equity work, where we're in the community all the time. I'm the co-founder of a small business where we employ at-risk youth, doing network. But at the end of the day, to me, it's just putting band-aids over wounds. Like I'm not changing anything systemically. Like I'm helping individuals because you just can't let people die. You know what I'm saying? Like that analogy. You know, you can't let somebody die.
Right.
You know, you may extend somewhat of their suffering a little bit because you can't let them die though. You know what I'm saying? So. And I feel like that's what, So that's what nonprofit work is, really. I'm not making any systemic change what I'm doing. I'm essentially allowing the system to continue because whatever I do in my pocket, I don't allow it to get as worse as it could get because we help people and we step in.
Right.
But if I thought to myself, that's, you know, paying rent. But if I really want to rent to own, like create ownership and make systemic change, I have to, you know, go into politics, man. And I was actually nominated to run. Like, I wasn't going to do it, you know, but thinking about that and thinking, okay, I could continue the work that I'm doing on a micro level, essentially take it to a macro level, and truly push for systemic change because we don't have political representation right now that truly gets us, speaks for us, you know, cares about the issues that are going on. They're about maintaining power and status and party. People come last, you know. So especially with these corporations and these banks that, you know, provide the funding that bankroll our current political system. So when I found out I could run without taking any bank money, without taking any corporate money, you know, a true progressive movement, you know, part of Justice Democrats and Brand New Congress. Shout out to Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez out of New York. You know, that was a huge upset. She's part of our organization.
Damn, that was huge.
Right, definitely. So she's an OG with me. She was recruited at the same time. And, you know,
Amazing.
so I had to do it, you know. I had to do it. There was no question once I thought, like, this was a way to just continue to work, but stop putting Band-Aids over it, actually, like, heal and treat and you know, create, you know, immunities or whatever to these diseases and systemic issues that we're facing. So that's what got me here, you know. So ran for Congress. You know, we did relatively well. We did lose, but got, you know, about 30% of the vote. And, you know, we're making waves. And we're going to run again. And with everything we learned and, you know, being on the ground before, we're going to be a problem, you know? Like, it's not going to be easy. We're definitely a problem out there.
Well,
and,
you know, I mean, you there's a certain level of intelligence, there's a certain level of culture that you bring, there's a certain level of just overall, like, community tie that you have, and it's a good blend. You know what I mean? It's a really solid blend, and it makes for that problem.
Definitely.
You know what I mean? And that's the best kind of problem to have, because your whole scope goes back to just the idea of, you said it, they're purposely trying to take away the creative brain power of our youth. Like, and that's, you know, we'll go there with this conversation, but it's to dumb them down, and it's obvious. Like, they don't want to think for themselves. They don't want them to, like, it creates issues, you know, because you're stirring a pot that's meant to just be there and just chill.
Exactly.
And just sit on a slow cook all day. And it's like, oh man, fuck that. Like, you're dealing with society that flash cooks everything almost, you know, flash fries, for lack of better terms. So, like, within that, it's like, they're going to pay attention to people that take certain action. I feel that's, like, why Trump became so popular, just because he was just like, and it's just like, yes, something new. And it's like, no, but it's the wrong new. You know what I mean? And it's like, it's all in a weird, fucked up way. It's like I don't want to use the term good, because it's not a good thing that he's in there, but it was interesting to see how it stirred people's thought processes. You know what I mean?
Oh, no,
I'm trying to, because I'm definitely not.
No, I get what you're saying, and I'll be the first to tell people, you know, and if they get it twisted and don't understand, you know, we can sit down and we can talk, and I'll explain it. Like, it's 2018, and Trump had to happen, if you really think about it. Like, no one's happy, you know, that it happened. You know, no one foresaw it, you know, truly happening. But he had to happen, because so many of us were living in a haze, we're living in a bubble, where somehow you get to the point when Trump wins, you're in shock.
Yes.
And you believe that all these systemic issues that he's tapping into, and, you know, fear-mongering and pushing these white supremacist agendas, you think it's new. But no, this shit has been here. You know what I'm saying? Like, this shit has been here for decades. You know, forever, people were oppressed when Obama was in office. You know, people would have been oppressed with Hillary in office. So I feel like with Trump getting in office, it woke all those people, a lot of people up. And, you know, that's why we're getting more of these movements now, more people that are trying to and attempting to be allies in bird form and resist. But what's going to be key is, are they going to take it further than identity politics and understand, okay, once Trump is out of office, your work isn't done.
Right.
We got to continue to grind, because it's the system that we have to change. You know, because
he's just another figure.
Exactly.
He's just another person that's there right now.
Because, you know, that tie-in with art leave, and like, you think about, look at technology right now. Technology continues to expand and grow. Automation is taking over. It's eliminating jobs. So you're going to have a greater number of people dependent upon the government, you know, our welfare system. You know, so if they could keep us dumb and content, essentially, they won. You know, because we don't have that free thought. We're not thinking. You know, I mean, we're everywhere now. You know, and I'm a little high right now, so, you know, I'm feeling it. So I'm like making connections. But if you think about it, you know, shout out to those cannabis users out there. I got my medical card, and it changed my life. But
something we're gonna talk about as well.
But if you think about, like, even going back to, like, what history says, you know, in the books, where when people were able to, you know, shift from being hunter-gatherers to farmers, that time that freed up. You know what I'm saying? That's when thought free thought came and artistry, began to develop and grow because people start working with their hands and creating because they had that time.
Yep.
And they had the space and the freedom. But if they take that away from us, what are we doing with our free time? We're out in the streets bullshitting. We're shooting each other. We're joining gangs. You know what I'm saying? We're getting locked up. We're not doing anything creative because we're not exposed to anything creative, in a sense. So it's kind of deep. If they could keep us dumb, content, locked up, or dead, or deny us entry into this country, that's the way to control the vote and to maintain power and supremacy. So it all ties in, bro. So it's just like, we have to continue to support art. We have to continue to support hip hop, because I remember growing up how Public Enemy taught me a lot. You know what I'm saying? Like KRS-One taught me a lot about like police in the streets and different things that were going on, banking issues and financial issues within the community. Like, yeah, my pops would talk to me, but they said it in a different way. You know what I'm saying?
Well, they said it in a way that we understood.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, our parents and anybody that comes before us and anybody that, even us teaching youth.
Right.
We all do it. Like, we all, he works with After School Matters a lot. And, there's a lot of ties with the youth and what we do. And that's a big, root in what we do as far as our company and what we represent. Like our first layer is obvious because that's what everybody sees. And they're like, oh, don't tell them what to do. Don't request anything. But it's like, no, there's like that's 1%, and like the rest of the 99% is our human side.
Right, definitely.
And all your analogies, man, they're like the way you're able to articulate so many people's thought processes, and even my words here, like my views on Trump. You're able to articulate that in a way that a lot of people don't necessarily know how to, but that's that common thread. That's that common thought process. So I look forward to this problem that you're creating, man. You know what I'm saying?
Real problem.
Like, real shit. Like,
real problem.
It's like I said, it's the greatest problem to have, man, because it's like Trump made it like people aren't scared to talk about shit anymore. Like, I feel like, even like my dad, like, talking to him, like, he voted for Trump, but he's even at a point where I tell him, like, yo, you can't even support your vote anymore, bro. Like, it's cool, I get it. Like, it's just one of those things. Like, and he's, it's not to like throw anything back at anybody, but it's just one of those things where it's like, yo, this is a real thing that we're living. And like you said, like that haze got cleared up real quick. Right. And all of the things that have been present and evident for decades just were out now. Right. It's not that they were born, nothing was created from this. No, this shit was around, from the way people move with the work, from just normal living. It's always been like this. But with social media and the whole shock, factor, it turned it into what it is because the world tuned in. Right. Like, it really made the world tune into what we do. And look what's fucking happening in the UK. Yeah. Like, that's a real thing.
It's like, deep, man. It's deep. Like you say, I mean, it went from covert to the overt, essentially, with Trump winning. But what's crazy to think about is, again, it had to happen. Yeah. Because, to me, it's kind of like that Jaws effect. What's scarier than seeing something coming at you is not knowing what's coming at you. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, it's going to scare the shit out of you to see like a shark in the water swimming towards you. You know what I'm saying? But imagine if you know something's coming, but you don't know what direction it's coming from. You don't know where it's coming from. You're just there. And you just see dark, murky water and something's coming. So I would like to at least see it, So I like to see my racism. I like to see my sexism. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Okay, you're a homophobe. I'm glad you let me know that. Oh, you don't want me in your restaurant because I'm black? I'm glad you let me know that because it's overt now. And we get to attack it directly. But imagine the covert shit. I go in your restaurant. You don't want me there because I'm black, but you don't tell me that. You go to the back, spit in my shit, and give it to me, then I eat it. And I'm none the wiser. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Or you overcharge me, or you do something. So think about the bankers, the school teachers, the politicians throughout history that have been covertly racist and utilize their positions of power to impact society, whether it's denying home loans, you know what I'm saying? Whether it's denying entry into schools, whether it's sentencing, whether it's pushing for a plea deal when you know the individual's innocent or, should take a lesser charge. So it's so systemic and everything's interconnected. So people just have to wake the hell up and understand. Yeah, it may not be at your doorstep today. You may be good with your $150,000 a year and your 2 vehicles, your picket fence, and your dog named Scrappy. But after they're done with everybody that you feel is beneath you, or you can't empathize with, whose door do you think they're coming to?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Because who's really at the bottom?
Right. You're at the bottom now. If you eliminate the bottom, then there's a new bottom. So, and that's capitalism.
Man,
you know what I'm saying?
So good, man. So good.
People got to wake up.
So good. And you know, that's the whole idea that people walk around using the term, I'm woke. It's like, nah, like, you're really not, because there are so many ties. Like the just the idea and the statement of like everything is relevant is so big, because it really is. Like, just the quick ties that you were able to make in a couple of statements. Like, that's everybody. Yeah. Everybody in this fucking world is involved in that. You know, that's that universe talk. That's that side of it too. And it's like, it's just wild, man. It's wild to see it developing in the way it is. And it's really dope that it opened up doors for, space for you to do what you do now, and, find yourself fully. And amplify that and magnify that light that you carry for what you're trying to do.
And that's dangerous, bro. Like, we're the dangerous individuals. When you're aware and you understand that you don't know everything, and you understand that you have to do the work, and really it's about action. Like, I forgot, I was chopping it up with somebody, dude, and they said the craziest thing, and I thought about it. Like, we're talking about leaders, throughout history. And he was like, take America. The leaders that really push for systemic change, like, didn't get caught in the okie doke, they're not here anymore. They were taken out.
Yeah.
And he hit me with it. He was like, you never heard of anybody trying to assassinate Jesse Jackson or Al Sharpton. That's like, it's crazy, but like, it's real.
Yeah.
We allow, even with our leadership, our politicians, the individuals we listen to, they're distractors. You know what I'm saying? They're agents of distraction. They're maintaining their position of power. They're poverty pimping. They're hustling off of our struggles, but they ain't changing shit. They're not pushing for anything but, again, to keep us content and dumb.
Yeah.
So it connects all in, So, it's crazy to think about, but I feel like if I leave this earth whenever, the higher power calls me, if I leave this earth without an assassination attempt, I ain't done shit. Like, that's how I'm going to measure my success. Somebody trying to kill me or kill me. And that's like my mind space right now.
That's real shit, man.
I need to push the ultimate hater is the person that assassinates you.
Right, like, it's crazy. Like, that's
you never
how
know,
like,
if you're doing right until
right, exactly.
Yeah,
like,
and you've really,
and that's crazy. But it's like, that's how we know.
But that's a real statement, though.
That's
like, anybody that's ever had any type of real power. We were just talking about Bob Marley, not long ago, and it's like, even that whole story, like,
right?
It's just one of those things where it's like things are presented a certain way, but there's this whole distraction to it. So I want to kind of wrap up, or unless you were
actually no, because just to kind of bring it back to what we do. So as artists, since this is such a larger conversation, just kind of narrow it down for what we do. So we agree that arts have been taken out.
Are being taken out and being taken out, yes.
Being taken out, it's definitely an issue. That there is a reason for it, and we agree that it should be brought back. So, what are ways that can actually happen?
No question. Individuals have to get involved. I think the onus is on us. We have to help educate our communities. But politically, we can't have elections where, the millennial voting base or the younger voting base isn't showing up. Or we can't have it where parents aren't involved in local school councils. Influencing, the educational system, or running for office, being on the school board, being on the library board. Because again, what happens is, it's the game. They cut the funding and they take out arts from our schools. But then what happens? Somebody like us who cares sees that. So then we start a nonprofit to provide art. But we're providing art to a less number of individuals, but we're still providing art in that community. So we basically allowed the system to say, fuck you. You're not valued. And then we're putting a Band-Aid over the situation by starting a program on the offshoot, and then probably getting some grants and some funding, so on and so forth. And they're probably not even being spent properly. That's how the game works. Instead of truly fighting and demanding and holding that institution, that school, or the institution accountable, and saying, no, you serve a wider audience than I could ever serve. You're part of this community base and structure. You have to have these programs, because thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of students will come through. You know what I'm saying? So you have to get involved politically. We have to move past just marching, taking pictures, patting ourselves on the back, and getting Facebook likes. And we have to move past starting nonprofits, thinking that that's going to be the solution. No, we have to truly get involved on a political level and understand who we need to vote in, who we need to vote out, what policies we need to support, like the education on lifting a ban on rent control in Chicago. Perfect example. People are being forced out of their communities. So it's gentrifying.
Yeah.
So even if you get a school that has something, your ass isn't going to be there, if you're black or brown or poor, most likely. Mm-hmm. So I think that's the biggest thing. We have to vote. Like, we cannot be content and dumb. Like, we have to educate ourselves. We have to vote. We have to hold individuals accountable. We have to get involved. Like, going to work and coming home and watching TV is not going to be enough for us. Yeah. Like, we got to sacrifice shit. And shout out to the WWF. WWE, this is my shit.
Yo, I got the WWE network. So the whole our thing here last year while we were recording, I was always playing OG Simpsons episodes.
Right.
So for 2018, I came across.
I love this, man.
So we do all the.
We're looking at the Heartbreak Kid and Goldust right now.
This is '96 Monday Night Raw right now,
and it's crazy. I know we got to wrap up, but think about how this is art. But think about how politics played in the WWE. You had the Iron Sheik. You're exposed to Middle Eastern politics through the Iron Sheik and shit like that. You know what I'm saying? And he's going against Hulk Hogan, the ultimate patriot.
Yeah.
And then you get, I remember some racist shit, the giant Kamala. You know what I'm saying? The black giant from the hills of Africa. You know what I'm saying? So it's like certain kids that don't get exposed, that educate, those are getting exposed to these political stereotypes.
Vince McMahon and what he did with like the XFL.
Right. Exactly.
How he went against that system.
Exactly.
He was like, fuck that. And he single-handedly changed the whole viewing scope of NFL anyways. They got the whole flying sky cam from him.
So
you know what I mean? So it's like, they were like, fuck you, you're going to take us over. So they took him out. You know what I mean? And it's like, it's just that.
And this is the type of exposure, bro. Yes. Like, some kids don't get anything but this. Nation of domination. And, it's crazy. Farouk and The Rock, when he first came out, I'm like, bro, they cold as hell. Like, they're honestly like the few black role models I had as a youth, Right. Shit, I wasn't on Black Panther and Wakanda. I ain't gonna front on you. Mm-hmm. I'm all about Wakanda now, but I wasn't reading Black Panther comics. But I knew Rock, you know what I'm saying? I knew Farouk. Yeah. I knew Ahmed Johnson. You know what I'm saying? The British Bulldog.
Junkyard Dog. Ahmed around.
So this is what's up. This is what's up, man. I appreciate it coming today, man. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, man. I want to, just one more thing before you leave.
Definitely
part of your identity and who you are. It's something that I've always kind of hidden from myself, but everybody that knows me knows it at a certain point in my life. I smoke, I partake in the marijuana culture.
Right.
It started at an early age, in high school, and, it was a distraction. And I'm really glad that you have this specific verbiage today with this whole distraction. And what was the other word?
Change agent.
Thank you. Okay. So, for so long and still in society, and not so much anymore because it's not as taboo, but like the marijuana culture in particular was like, it's a gateway drug and it's going to open you up to all this stuff. And now we're in a position where, science has, taken over with it, and it, the medicinal world has taken over with it. And, a big reason that it's not fully legal is the political side.
Right, no question.
I just was very fortunate enough, shout out to everybody at Herbal Notes. It's an underground pop-up dinner that happens in Chicago. I got booked to play Friday. It was incredible because as soon as I walked in, all the people that are running it are like, hey, and they give you a hug, and like, I'm like, yo, I'm home.
Right.
This is how I am.
Right.
I'm all about that shit. Like, you should embrace people.
Right.
Like,
no question.
For just being human.
Right.
And especially if they're good people. So their whole MO was obviously not just like having every course. It was a 7-course meal.
Dope.
Every part of the meal was some induced some way. Whether with some type of CBD or something, but not in a manner where you're gonna walk out like
right. But it's
their whole thing was that they're bringing people that they're encouraging individuals in particular that have never dabbled in the marijuana culture but want to.
Right.
Okay. So you're seated. It was like there were 40 seats. It's very exclusive, and they're pairing meals with specific strains, and then. They had Big Meech, which is a michelada company here out of Chicago. They were serving specific drinks and cocktails to go with that.
Nice pairing.
Now, on top of that, they have a marijuana waiter that comes around and is giving you vape pens
after
your meal that are flavored
to go with the...
So, like,
I might have to holler at them for the next campaign, man. They may have to host like a dinner.
When we do the next one, because they want me to be, I'm already part of that. Shout out to Herbal Notes, we're in that bitch.
Shout out to y'all.
Yes, they have a phenomenal thing. But I will absolutely let you know when the next one is, and you as well. You guys come out, hang out. It's a dope ass experience. But point is that their whole MO is like, we're gonna seat everybody together. They seat everybody very close.
Right.
So they're like, we want you guys to feel slightly uncomfortable out of the go, because as soon as you jump into it, you're gonna feel very familiar.
Right.
So everything's gonna become very familiar for you, and that's what it was. Their whole thing is everything that they're buying that Chef Manny's cooking is local bought, farmers markets, all organic, fresh, bought that morning or that night before the marinade. All the strains are from local shops out of state. Everything that's involved, all the people that are hosting or whatever, everybody's got bigger roles in the culture outside of it. They just all got to that point in their lives where they found themselves and they're like, yo, I partake a lot,
right?
But it's bigger for me. Right. There's the medicinal aspect, there's the cultural aspect, there's the humanity aspect of just being together. Right. And it was so dope to see for me, like people in their 50s and 60s and like these like white couples that were in there hanging out with like younger, my age, mid 30s, and like having the time of their life. Yeah. Like, and it was just solely off of the fact that you're being brought into a space that's meant to be comfortable already. Right. So it's not necessarily the weed that does it. Right. It's part of it.
Being disarmed.
Yes. So when did you make and how did you make that choice to just let that be part of your identity as well?
Right, definitely.
It's a big thing, for the medicinal aspect.
No, definitely, no question. I mean, growing up, of course, I feel like the majority of us, who smoked when we were younger, you're told you can't. You're told it's bad. You're told, it's illegal. You're told, there's no, benefits to doing this. So in a sense, of course, when I was younger, I was, a kid, wanted to rebel and, things of that nature. But honestly, and, I don't want to get too deep because I know we don't have, but think about the amount of kids who live in these communities, particularly urban communities, the city, so on and so forth. Even kids that are under pressure at schools that have like mental issues, or like they suffer from PTSD, depression. Oftentimes not diagnosed, and depression. Like honestly, thinking about how the medicinal benefits of cannabis is for me now, like a lot of kids are medicating and not even realizing they're medicated.
Correct.
You feel what I'm saying?
Yes.
They think they're just doing it because they're rebelling and
that's
cool.
That's what I was
but this
say.
shit, right? This shit is like, and I'm not, putting out there, young kids should smoke. I do believe there's a certain age you start smoking because of, you have to, do certain things in life. But again, a lot of kids are self-medicating, and we're not even recognizing and understanding how it's getting them through.
Or
depression.
They even have to medicate.
Right, or they even have to medicate.
Right.
So, I just smoked, when I was younger, went to the military, so I had to stop. But I'm a disabled veteran. I have PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. I have Behçet's disease, it's similar to sarcoidosis, where my immune system's overactive. And coming back home, trying to go the traditional legal route, working with these pharmaceutical companies, working with these doctors. Again, they want to keep you dumb and content. They just throw drugs at you. Because of course it's about profit and money.
Oh, pharma.
And pharma, big pharma. Yeah. They influence our politics, our political realm. And if you look at certain articles that just came out, it says the nationwide legalization of cannabis will lead to billions and billions of dollars being lost by pharmaceutical companies. So no wonder it's taking so long to get to the point where medical cannabis is being, finally legalized. And, you have places like California that are retroly, legalizing cannabis. So it's pushback because of money.
Yes.
They're not going to profit.
No,
they're not going to profit from legalization.
How to
right, but people can profit from
Correct.
it.
Colorado,
people could profit from it. Exactly. A new tax base that we could reinvest in our educational systems, in our infrastructure, in our communities. So it's huge. But for me, like considering the pain that I have to deal with, with my conditions, it has been a lifesaver. I've been able to get off all these, horrible, over-the-counter drugs or prescribed drugs that were just, the side effects were ridiculous, mentally impacting me, physically impacting me. But since I got my medical cannabis card, went the legal route, I mean, it's just opened the door. I'm living my best life right now. In regards to, being able to have edibles, being able to have tincture, whatever I'm using, flour. and they even measure, the sativa based on, it could be a hybrid, they could specify, the mix. So it benefits you. It's not about just getting high.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
What I was talking about.
It's not right
so much because
exactly.
They were, they had like one of the dishes that I actually got to try a bunch of the food too, which was delicious, by the way. But one of the dishes was like a flank steak that was, crusted in CBD salt.
Nice.
It's like meant to just calm you, not, the hallucinogenic effect isn't there.
It's about calming and feeling good. Because if you think about it, what's wrong with feeling a little bit better about yourself and having that slight high? Because again, it opens you up to being more social. If you tap into natives, what did they have? A peace pipe. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
You breaking bread with somebody, you trying to end some conflict with somebody, you trying to connect, you pass the pipe.
Yes. Think, I was going to say, like, you're talking about opening up and being social. Like, think about how many comics have had stand-ups, and scenes about smoking and how you just sitting there and, they go into these crazy. Martin had a very, famous one. And it's like, it's funny, but if you really think about that, how many times have you found your own self having conversations with people and how therapeutic that moment is for you? Just to be, we sit here and we burn trees and not to put anybody's business out there, but we burn but the whole time it's a 5-hour business and life session.
Right.
It's like we're not sitting here eating bags of Cheetos and shit. Like, we're having like these.
You're not allowing it to be a distracting nature.
Not at all. That's what it is, and that's where I wanted to go with it. Like, I love the fact that like you're able to make that verbal and even for me, like sitting here with you now, like it makes me even more proud about it because everybody when people find out that I smoke, they're like, yo, I had no idea. And I'm like, I'm like high most of the time that you see me.
Right.
And they're like, how?
Right.
And I'm like, well, it helps me be calm. Like, I have anxiety. Yeah. Like, I have fucking depression that I deal with, just like most people do. Mm-hmm. Everybody's come from some type of interesting childhood,
right?
Or some type of interesting stuff that happened on the streets, or anything that happens now. You know what I mean? And as you get deeper into the system, and as you get deeper into yourself, you have to deal with more emotions. And like, me, I learned that I was an emotionally driven person. And it's like, if it wasn't for this, I would be on 4, 5, 6 things that were counterbalancing themselves, and I'd be a fucking potato. I wouldn't be able to do shit. I'm sitting here tired as hell, but like we were talking earlier, I'm like, I'm so happy at being able to do all this stuff and not have time to nap and chill and sleep and like. When I do catch a nap after 3 weeks, it's like the most glorious hour of my life.
No question.
But it's like, cool, I wake up, I burn, and then I go do what I got to do.
Right.
And it's like...
But that's how society's set up, because, again, they don't make money from it, bro. Mm-hmm. Society will make you believe that a teacher that smokes a bee before work and goes and has the best day with his students or her students and creates change is worse than that individual closing $1 billion deal that did a line of cocaine off the counter. You know what I'm saying?
Teacher that comes in and clock in and clock out.
But because that's who's associated with, and it's about making money and profit. So again, we just have to educate. We have to change the stigmas, and I think we are, because our medical industry needs support in Illinois. They were looking at about 100,000 people having medical cannabis cards, and to date, I still think we're under 9,000. Because of the banking restrictions that still exist. A lot of doctors still will not, take you as a patient, if you're interested in going the flower route.
Because their jobs are at risk too, and that's what sucks. So many of them
they're under pressure, or they'll lose funding. So we have to push it, and we have to push for retroactive legalization. And once it's legalized, we have to invest in the minority communities that have been disproportionately impacted by it being illegal.
Yes.
We have too many people locked up, non-violent offenses for bullshit-ass reasons, for a bag. Just trying to make it through the day, bro.
Yes.
Or they have to take care of their families. We hold people accountable, but let's understand, how the system works. So it has to change. No question. Absolutely. So I'm 100% for the legalization, retroactive legalization, the empowerment of minority communities that have been impacted, and we have to further advance our medical industry. No question.
It's all relevant.
Yep.
It all plays relevant.
All interconnected, bro.
Man, we appreciate you, man.
I appreciate
beautiful
you.
Conversation today, man.
Love. Always able to vibe out.
Yes, man. I really send you all the positivity and all the blessings on everything that you're doing. You know what I mean? Like, you represent so many of us and so much of what we do, and we have these platforms that we've taken with art, and you represent us,
right? No question.
You know what I mean? So it's like
we got a vibe though, and I guarantee you though, I guarantee my next race, like I want to rock with you. You know, I want us to connect and do things and talk about it, and we got to collaborate. You know, we have to tie in our culture, bro. Absolutely. Like, seriously. So,
and that was the whole reason that we wanted you here today.
Right.
We wanted to talk to you about it. You know, that we want our people too that listen to understand where we come from with this as well, and how serious we take this, and all the deeper ties because. Like we have fun with what we do, obviously. Like, you have a lot of fun with what you do.
Exactly.
But like a lot of the matters that we deal with are very serious matters.
Right.
So in the midst of all of the distractions, there's change that has to happen. Definitely. There's action that's being taken. Definitely. So we want people to understand that there's a balance to the fun that we have.
No question.
And people like yourself are a direct representative and just you're up here and you're in front of us kind of leading that. You know what I'm saying?
We're together.
And we're all together.
Yeah,
we're all together. It does. Yeah. But there's always a face, and there's always has to be that one person or and group of people that intertie all the other, the masses. So we appreciate you, man.
Appreciate you, bro.
Absolutely.
Thanks, both.
Absolutely, man.